Now at the Lyndon Baines Johnson Library and Museum here in Austin, Texas.
The only big highway is that one. This is, if you go straight this way, that is downtown. So I would.
Morning. Come on through this way. You guys are all good. Any bags or backpacks? Don't need to see your pockets. We can give you that. Yep. All good. All good. Just the persons.
You have tickets yet?
No,
Okay.
we're seniors.
Who's seniors?
It comes out real quick on the side so you can grab them. Morning.
In the Great Hall.
Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own.
3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade today.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
All I have, I would have given gladly not to be standing here today.
In the very early hours of his presidency, he laid it out, the entire Great Society, and he never diverged from it.
Will you join in the battle to build the Great Society?
Most of what he proposed, he'd been thinking about for many years, so it was all pent up. And when he became president, it just exploded.
The journey began with President Roosevelt's conviction that a compassionate government cannot ignore the plight of the ill-housed, or the ill-fed, or the ill-clothed.
Johnson saw that government could be a great force to help people who were confronting forces that are too big for them to fight themselves.
And he realizes that
this is a chance now for him to, in a sense, complete the New Deal.
Our first objective is to free 30 million Americans from the prison of poverty. Can you help us free these Americans? And if you can, let me hear your voices.
Johnson wins the election in 1964 by a landslide.
Johnson had an enormous amount of political capital.
This is a reproduction of the Oval Office used by the President of the United States in the White House. The Oval Office itself is located in the west wing of the Executive Mansion. Built in 1902, it has been occupied by every president since Theodore Roosevelt. The way you see the office here is the way it looked during the administration of Lyndon Baines Johnson, except for one detail. This is 1/8 smaller than the real Oval Office. The desk is the one Mr. Johnson worked at from the time he served in the United States Senate and through the White House years. It generally appeared this way, with considerable material stacked and waiting for his attention. Items tabbed with red were urgent. Many laws of the Great Society were signed here. The remote control units on the desk and on the small table beside the rocking chair would activate the 3-screen TV console. The President would watch the news on 3 networks, selecting the audio he preferred. The rocking chair was President Johnson's, as was the marble top table, specially designed with a call directory telephone mounted in the drawer. The panel of buttons gave him instant communication with members of his staff. The television console and the teletype machine next to it are reproductions of the ones used in the office. The service flags were gifts from the armed forces to the Commander-in-Chief. In late October 1968, less than 3 months before he left the White House, the 36th President of the United States reflected on the Oval Office as it looks to the man who works here.
No president ever came to this office on a platform of doing what was wrong. But every man who's ever occupied this office or sat at this desk or reclined in this chair has been dedicated to doing what he believed was for the best interest of the people of this country. I'm utterly convinced that when any man takes the oath of office as president, he is determined to do what is right as God gives him the wisdom to know the right. Most people come into the office with great dreams, and they leave it with many satisfactions and some disappointments, and always some of their dreams have not come true. And I'm no exception. But I'm so grateful and so proud that I've had my chance. And as to how successful he's been doing the greatest good for the greatest number, the people themselves and their posterity must ultimately decide. No way. I feel very much like Winston Churchill felt when the ladies of the Temperance Union called upon him at the dark days just before the end of World War II. And they said, Mr. Prime Minister, this little dainty lady who was chairman of the Temperance Group, said, we have on reliable authority that if all the alcohol, all the brandy,
greatest satisfaction. Many years ago, when I was away, was raining I snatched children outside and I learned those like YouTube. I had this huge plan that this house belongs back to the past to you. I never imagined that one day I would live on the other side associated with what goes on inside projects was to help create a hike and bike trail around Town Lake. The greatest satisfaction of these past years starting Wildflower Center. Just over the horizon, where work goes on to encourage the use of native plants and grasses to plant landscapes
in all parts of the country. Much of my life, of course, for years, we always had one. And Socrates, I planted them the year that I dared to marry him in the fall.
Conservation and beautification. Putting this interest into practice would require organization and hard work. And so, the Committee for a More Beautiful Capital was born.
This is the sculpture garden.